Okay, Thursday, May 1st, 2025, coming out of the Habyt building. We are now, our front door still doesn't work. It's been a week. They were doing the construction got cleaned up, but now the front door is broken. I mean, it looks like maybe they taped it. Yeah, it looks like they tried to tape it shut. This building, it's always full of issues, but why do we live here? When we first moved here, we didn't have a Belgian national number, any identity, and it's very hard in Brussels to have someone give you a lease or take you in, I should say, rent to you if you're not local. And the way you become local is you get this national number, which I have plenty of videos on what we're going through for that. Now, where am I on the ID card? I went to the Commune yesterday after I used Chat GPT to write a letter in French that I really need this electronic ID card so I can log into my bank account on the PC and pay my taxes. If I don't have this EID card in the app on my phone, right now I can only do banking through the phone app. If that goes down or gets reset, I have to go to the bank and I have to scan a QR code physically and come back, and it's like a good 20-minute walk. And it's about the same when you take the public transportation. I mean, maybe it's, say, 5 minutes. So it's a 40-minute round trip plus the time you're there. It's just a big waste of time. But I made the argument, I told ChatGPT to argue that I can't even pay taxes, that I'm sitting on all this money, I owe it to the government, and I have no way to pay it because I can't log in to the tax office site. And we have like this app in Norway. We don't need a card. We just get it from the population or the tax office. We register our phone number, our email. They send us this whole thing, and you download this app on the phone. You don't even need a phone number, and you just go about your business. But here it's an ordeal. So I will get this. Today is a holiday. I was supposed to get the ID card today. So we went to the office yesterday. I mean, they invited me to make an appointment. So I wrote that email with help of ChatGPT in French. They told me to log in, make an appointment. I went yesterday with my wife and kid. We brought the French translator. We didn't need him. Yeah, and he didn't charge us. That was nice of him. We got it done in 5 minutes, and they said the card would be ready today, but today turned out to be a holiday. So we'll get it tomorrow. But now I have to get an EID card for my wife, because we made a bank account for her, but she's having the same issues. So I think I get the card first, because my wife and kid came in through me. I'm the European citizen. And they will get it, hopefully, in a meaningful amount of time. Now, new development. Ukraine signed the minerals deal. There seems to be some optimism this war is going to start freezing up along the current lines. I mean, there's talk that Putin wants everything and all of this, but I think behind the scenes, the arms are flowing into Ukraine, and the lines are holding, and the sides are talking. It's all very encouraging. So we have given our 3-month notice. We are out of here end of July and heading back to Ukraine for 2 months before we go to America. It looks like the cops here are doing something, not sure what. Safe to cross the street. I don't know if I'll get busted for jaywalking or not. There's always a lot of drama here. We had a fire, yeah, the drama, yeah. So there was a big fire in the junkyard near our apartment, and you can see the YouTube short that I had posted. And it took a while for them to put it out, and it was blowing a lot of smoke everywhere. I'm just waiting here for the light to turn green. I don't know if it's like Singapore here where you can get busted for jaywalking. It looks like some old lady just crossed the street, so I'm probably okay, but yeah. I don't know if they leave the old ladies alone and bust the old men. I'm not sure. I'm not that old though. But yeah, so yeah, we had the fire, and then yeah, our door's broken on the building. But this building, like I said, it only rents, it rents to anybody. You can pay with a credit card. They just need a passport, any country's passport. and you make a security deposit, everything on your card. You don't need to do a bank transfer. Super easy. You can go 3 months at a time. In Belgium, you have to rent 1, 3, 6, 9 years or something like this, and it's a very complicated agreement. The security deposit requires some inspector to come, and it's actually, they're on your side, on the tenant side. It's actually a good thing. This company here, they just take the deposit, but I imagine they give it back pretty easy. You just have to clean the place up, because they don't have any proof of the condition on the day you move in. No one came and made a video. So yeah, but we're given the 3 months notice. We're going back to Ukraine. Hopefully by then we get everything sorted. My daughter's Norwegian passport's on the way. I think that comes in June. I'm renewing my US passport in 2 weeks. Its time is almost up in September. I need to have enough months on that to travel. When you get close to 6 months expiration on your passport, you need to renew, because a lot of countries consider 6 months to the date of expiration already expired and won't accept it. And then what else? My wife's green card medical exam. I'm going now to a print shop. She got back her medical report. She's missing some vaccines. She took a blood test, and they figured out which vaccines she needs and doesn't need. So she needs like hepatitis B and MMR, mumps, measles, rubella. And there's a big mumps outbreak, or measles. It's measles outbreak in the US. So we definitely got to get that. And hepatitis B is always just a good one to have. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm a selective anti-vaxxer, let's say. I only take things that have been tested, good brands, good companies. I don't have any issues. I took 3 COVID vaccines, and I got a kid, so in my 50s. So I don't think there's any issue with the COVID vaccines either, but they probably need more testing. I'm just speculating here. Perhaps they need 10 years of data on that. But, when you look back at that situation, they thought it was a second Spanish flu, and it was scary. I mean, this thing escaped from the lab in China. It was some genetically engineered virus, which was probably could have been far worse than Spanish flu, where like 20% of the people in the world died from it or something. It was crazy. And it was in 1919, they did lockdown and masks and everything. And lo and behold, after that, we didn't end up in a dictatorship. We had the Roaring 20s. We won a world war. We had prosperous times. So it was, like I said, I'm not a pandemic's conspiracy nut. Yeah, and what else talking about here? I think, in my last video, I want to respond. A lot of people are asking about the French thing here. Yeah, the French are messing everything up here in Brussels. Brussels is like, okay, so the top half of Belgium is Dutch, the bottom half is French, and Brussels is run by the French. And everything is screwed up. Like I said, we were in the park this morning. It's full of glass and cigarette butts. We have to find a corner of the park. I mean, we can't keep the kid locked in the apartment all the time. She needs to be in the green. She needs to see plants and grass and all this stuff. It's just all this litter everywhere. And like I said, I don't fault the immigrants. I fault the administration here for not teaching the immigrants how to use the garbage can and everything. And then this thing like, you're in Brussels, you have to speak French. This is capital of Europe, and everyone is speaking English in Europe as the medium language. I mean, like I said in the last video, they lost the culture war. But when I was at the administration the other day, I asked them, because they first started this whole French thing, and then they switched to English. When I don't know why, for whatever reason, I said, I'll wait for the translator. Okay, then let's sit and wait. Then she started speaking English. And I asked her, why don't you take the Haitian people in America, in Springfield, Missouri? I said, they all speak French. The ones that Trump called out for eating dogs and cats, but they were not eating dogs. They were eating cats and ducks. Trump was a little bit wrong there, He should check his facts, but I don't know. We don't have a whole lot of cats and ducks here in Brussels. You know, I saw a lot of ducks in England, but you know, we were in England last week for my daughter's appointment, and there was a lot of ducks in the Regent Park and everything, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I asked that question too. You know, I mean, it's closer to their culture. You know, and only, like I said, the only people speaking French are like people in Congo and, you know, depraved parts of Africa. You know, some Middle Eastern people speak it. You know, but like I said, all the people from those countries that are leaders or successful or whatever, they're all speaking English. You know, I mean, if they have a Microsoft office there or a multinational company there, they're all working in English. And the French got to accept this instead of being like pissed off all the time and ramming their culture down, you know, people's throats in an international city. I mean, you know, yeah, maybe I sound culturally insensitive or something, but if Europe doesn't figure out this thing with the languages, they're going to just get wedged apart by the Russians. I mean, already the Russians took down the electrical grid in Spain. You know, they're so focused on like supporting languages and everything, someone forgot about IT security. You know, that it'd be just easier if they all worked in English medium, and then they could bring in like really good techs. Like, you know, when you look at a lot of technical jobs here, they require French, Dutch, and English. Like, how many people do you find that know all three of that and then know their trade really well? You know, not many. And so they'll just settle, they're put the language as a priority over the skill. So they'll bring some guy who's good in these three languages but doesn't have the skill to put in IT security. And then guess what? They get hacked. Because the Russians, they all speak one language, Russian, right? So they've already learned that as a kid, and they put all their energy into hacking. And they can take down, like I said, they can pick Europe apart and, you know, get Europe stuck in the mud. They will never defeat Europe, you know, like on a frontal assault. But they can do all this backdoor attacks, you know, hacks on infrastructure. They can do political party hacking, you know, social media, and take advantage of the democracy, right? I mean, sadly, democracy is an experiment, and there's a lot of holes in it. You know, we haven't come up with a perfect democratic model yet. I mean, as much as I like Trump, we're going to be tested here if he goes third term. I definitely don't support his third term. You know, I would like to see Ron DeSantis get the White House. Like I said, he's like Trump without all the BS. You know, and he's proven, he's been governor of Florida, and he's done a good job down in Florida. I mean, they got third best education in the U.S. It's overall a pretty good place. I don't see it as a good place to raise kids. There's too much partying and stuff. It's these warm places in America, it's too easy going. I want to raise my daughter where there's some snow and winter and everything to kind of, you know, during the school year, keep her inside and studying, you know, and everything, you know, and maybe go skiing in the winter or something like that. But I used to always want to live in a warm place, and I lived in Florida. I've lived in, you know, I've been to Brazil and India and all this, and I enjoy warm weather. But I think when it comes to raising kids, you need a place with seasons, so there's some adversity and hardship to kind of give them strength of character. Yeah. So, but definitely, I had, you know, when I was looking at Brussels, I was so excited. They have some nice private schools here and everything, but there's no green areas. But like I said, just living in this atmosphere where this French thing is being imposed on you, and they know this is an international city, people are passing through, and they just make it unnecessarily hard, you know, to get yourself going. Like, I'm going on 3 months and still having all this administrative hardships, you know, things that get solved in Norway without Norwegian language in a week. And I'm wondering, like, why don't these like French people all get on a plane and go to Sweden, Norway, or Finland, or Denmark and look at how they do things and bring those practices back here, so they could have an economy and have a society like they do there. Like, Scandinavia is the only part of Europe really moving forward, maybe Netherlands to some degree. And Netherlands works like Scandinavia. Netherlands is another good example, but they have a bit of this bureaucracy there. But people need to model themselves on Scandinavian countries. Out of all of them, I think Sweden is actually the most efficient. I mean, Norway is pretty efficient, but Norway is kind of like a niche, I should say. You can't really count it. Sweden is a country with the industry. It's a part of the EU. They have a lot more going on. I mean, of course, I'm Norwegian by citizenship and everything, and I would always choose Norway over Sweden. But Sweden builds all these systems, and then Norway and Finland and Denmark model off of them. Because I lived in Sweden in 1999. I went there as a skilled worker to work for Ericsson. And it took me only 4 weeks from when I was in the US. I sent my job offer. I had to wait in the US. I had to wait outside the country. And in 4 weeks, they had my work visa. And it turned out to be a permanent visa. But it's not really permanent because the minute you leave the country for more than I think 6 months, it expires. So it was like a semi-permanent visa. But I was in the system the day I landed. I remember I went to this tax office and showed this visa, and they issued the number. And then I went to the bank, and when I opened the bank account, the bank gave me the ID card. It changed now. Now you have to get the ID card from the Swedish government again. But it used to be back in the 90s, you would get the ID card from the bank. So I don't know why, and I didn't need no electronic card reader or any of this. It was easy 30 years ago, or 26 years ago in Sweden, a generation ago, than what it is here in Belgium to get yourself situated. And I'm like I said, I'm a European citizen, and it is harder here as a Norwegian coming to Belgium than an American completely outside of the EU or EEA coming to Sweden or Norway to get yourself situated and registered. It takes a lot of time, a lot of mental energy. I get tired from this. I want to be learning SAP. In my new job, there's a lot of this thing with SAP, and I'm finding out it's an incredible system, this SAP S4 HANA. This is if you're going to be in IT. There's one guy I'm talking to, he's messaged me on LinkedIn. Somewhere you got to pick up SAP. If you're going to work in accounting and work in IT or a crossover, SAP is involved in that. So everyone should have a class in that. And it's basically SQL and databases. It's just their pre-packaged version. All the tables and everything are already pre-packaged, and you just have to populate it with data. And there's this whole industry to migrate data into SAP. I mean, there's companies that are just built for this, like Capgemini in France. It's I think it's a global company, but they started in France, but they work in English. I mean, I was just talking to someone from Capgemini yesterday at my job, and she was in India and she was speaking English. She wasn't making me speak French because she works in a French company. So yeah, like I said, I don't know what's going on here in Brussels. There's garbage everywhere. The parks, like I said, are full of cigarette butts. And this is another thing with the French. Like in Norway, you don't see cigarette butts all over the street. It's like the French people. They just smoke and drop the cigarettes everywhere. It's just disgusting. And if it's not them doing it, and it's the immigrants doing it, it's because I taught the immigrants that was okay. I don't blame the immigrants for anything. I blame the administration and the country for not bringing them in and assimilating them and, showing them a way forward. And then they end up just having their old habits from their old country and everything. It's a leadership problem, not an immigrant problem. Because the country definitely needs people. I mean, the only people I see doing the work around here are immigrants. So, that is something people got to face, that reality. But anyway, that's all I got. We'll see you Sunday. Sunday, I'm going to do a video from the Maritime Station shopping project. It used to be a train station called Gare Maritime, and now they turned it into a big pavilion. I tried to make a video there a few days ago, but it didn't turn out well. So we'll try again this weekend. See you. Bye-bye.